and I would like to welcome everyone to another edition of the Africa 2063 Spotlight. Today we have a special guest. I've known Mr. Trevor Keeney since right around 1984, so we go back about 36 years. Trevor Keeney's dad was my track and cross country coach uh, years ago, high school, from 84 through 1987, my senior year in high school. And of course, Trevor was his son. So man, I haven't really seen Trevor, man, since 1987. So it's been like 33 years, but he's a grown man now. So with that, I'm gonna introduce Mr. Trevor Keeney. Hey, Trevor.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Doing pretty good. So you're an American citizen, American born, but
Yep,
currently living in Lagos, Nigeria. Is that correct?
that's correct. That's
So
correct.
so tell me how an American born guy like yourself ends up in Nigeria. Tell me a little bit about your story and how you ended up in Nigeria.
Michigan, so there was no need to take any foreign language classes.
I'm
I
sorry, you were breaking up again. Could you say that sentence all over again? I'm sorry.
yeah, I said maybe I'll go back to the high school days when I never thought I would leave Michigan, so there was
Gotcha.
no need to take any foreign languages.
Got it.
Well, I ended up at Michigan State. I have a computer engineering degree. I moved to Chicago and lived in Chicago for 10 years. I was doing I worked for Motorola for about a year and a half. I worked with a consulting company, business and technology consulting company, Clarkston Consulting, for about 9.5 years. While I was on a project in Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore, I met my now wife. That was in June of 2006.
Nice.
So while I was working on that project, we dated, and then when the project finished, I said, "Well, I've got to go back to Chicago, so let's see how it goes." And so she said, "Oh, okay, let's see how it goes." And she directed my path
Nice.
in a nice way. And we continued to date while we were apart like that, and
Hmm.
seeing each other every couple of weeks, flying either to Baltimore or she would fly to Chicago.
Hmm.
And we eventually got engaged, and I visited Lagos and Abuja, Nigeria, the first time in December 2007.
And your
And
wife was Nigerian born but raised in Maryland. Is that correct?
yeah, she moved to Maryland when she was a teenager, I think
Okay.
a 10th grade in high school.
Got it.
And she was the oldest of her siblings. So when she moved, she was responsible for her younger siblings when she was in the U.S. So she kind of um, was young, but with a lot of a responsibility in the U.S.
Sure, sure.
And but she was more mature than a lot of the different people that I'd met. And
Nice.
I think that was one of the key characteristics that stood out. So we I visited Nigeria because we had gotten engaged, and I thought, well, if we're going to get married now, I probably should visit the country and see what I'm getting myself into.
Sure.
And so we came over Christmas period of 2007, Christmas New Year's, and we came to pretty organized. Seems like a up and coming place. Not too bad. Then we flew from Abuja to Lagos because my in-laws were going to do an anniversary party.
Okay.
And when we got to Lagos, it was complete madness. Just the number of people, population size, the congested traffic, the
Sure.
everything that you could imagine from a city with 20 million people. And this was in 2007, so it was at the beginning of when they started to clean up and organize Lagos State.
Hmm.
So it was still a little bit chaotic at that time. And after leaving Lagos, I thought, boy, I could never live in that place,
Hmm.
not in a million years.
Sure, sure.
And but I thought, Abuja is possible. There's some potential there. So we came back, and in August of 2008, we came back for the traditional wedding. So I did a
Okay.
traditional African wedding. I did the church wedding
Mm-hmm.
and the reception, and then we did another reception ceremony in the village. So
Okay.
I kind of got the taste of all those.
Nice.
And on that visit, I brought Coach Keeney, and
My
I brought
man.
my mother, my brother,
Oh
and
yeah.
some friends. So
Nice.
they were around for about 2.5 weeks, I think.
Nice.
So they got a taste of it too.
Nice.
They say that they're still tired from that one visit,
Oh wow.
but you know that was more than 10 years ago now, and I try to explain to them that it's calmed down. It's not so chaotic like it was when they visited.
Now I've been told that the Nigerian folks are very welcoming. How were they
Yes.
welcoming you, and how'd they welcome my coach over there?
Yeah, they're very welcoming, and I think that some things just get lost in translation. Um, you know, I think that Nigeria gets a bad rap for security because of the international news, and people
Hmm.
think that Boko Haram is waiting at your doorstep to shoot you and kidnap you and kill
Hmm.
you.
Yep.
So you see a different level of military presence in Nigeria than you do in America. So that can be surprising to people the first time they see it,
Sure.
because they think, why do I have to see a guy carrying a machine gun? Um, how is that protecting me?
Sure.
So I'll give you an example. Is that when we came, my father-in-law thought it would be good that we all went to a new shopping mall
Hmm.
that had just opened, and they had like a foreign style restaurant, and you could go for coffee and ice cream and things like that. But he thought it would be good if he sent an armed guard to walk with us. So I think that worried my father more than the security itself. That why is this guy with the machine gun?
Right. Right.
But it's really not that bad. I
Okay.
mean, it's I mean, I personally stand out like a sore thumb. So there's nothing I can do to hide. When I originally came to Nigeria, I had a low cut, not as low as your own, but I
Hmm.
used to just take the
Right.
clipper and shave it down just for the ease of the hair. And I used to wear the local traditional clothes,
Hmm.
and that would confuse a lot of people because they were just they would wonder, well, where's this guy from?
Right.
He doesn't look Nigerian, but he's wearing our clothes.
Right.
He's trying to fit in. They
Right.
just didn't understand it.
Right. And maybe to piggyback on that, so what is it like being a minority? Thinking about your upbringing, U.S. citizen, born and raised in Michigan, being the majority your whole life, but then going to a place where you're the minority. What's that transition been like?
Yeah, it, it's interesting. It's I don't know if you can explain it until you're put in the situation, but it's a minority. But I don't think it's the similar minority that you would face in the United States.
Okay.
I mean, I think that for the most part, I get a lot of respect
Okay.
uh, from the Nigerians that I've met. And like anywhere that you go, if you know a little bit of the language, if you can say hello, you can say good morning, you can say a few things,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
goes a long way. People appreciate the little effort, and they'll tell you that no, that's enough.
Okay. Sure.
You've tried. You've tried.
Right. Sure.
Let's just stick with English.
Sure. Nice. That's pretty interesting. That's good information to know. So let's get into career a little bit. So you we both attended state, but we didn't interact at state. I didn't even know you were at state. I studied computer science. We were there probably around. It was probably some overlap. Our years at Michigan State. I studied computer science. You were computer engineering. We're actually College of Engineering, same college, probably the same dean. I think it was. I can't remember my deans. Anyway, that's another story. I can't even. That was like 30 years ago. I can't remember who that was. Bickard, I think his
Yeah.
name was. I can't remember. Probably the same one when we were both there. But talk about job transitioning and how you were able to. I'm assuming, and then job transition, maybe what you do there currently, and Have you thought about, or are you starting businesses? Maybe you can talk about the whole job slash business part of your journey.
Sure, sure. Yeah, when I graduated from university, just having a computer engineering degree, you didn't even really have to try hard to find a job. Jobs would come to look for you,
Mhm.
and that's all I did. I had three offers, and I had an offer to stay in Michigan
Yep, same
and
here.
live at home.
Yep.
I had one in North Carolina, I think, with Lucent Technologies,
Hmm.
and I had one with Motorola. And I think that at the time I just chose the Motorola job because it seemed like a good company, and I liked the people that I had interviewed with. It seemed like a good group of people.
Nice.
So um, yeah, in that role, I was working in the CDMA infrastructure group, which was the network infrastructure for the cellular phones back in the late '90s. And I was managing the software that they would load up onto those onto that network. I had a friend in university who had joined this consulting company, and he came to Chicago, I think, one weekend with some partners of the firm and some people that he had worked with, and they were on for the weekend to go to a Cubs game and just hang out. So hung out with them, and they said, "Well, you seem like you could fit into this consulting lifestyle. You should give it a shot." I said, "Okay." So they kind of fast tracked me on an interview process there, and I got a job in that consulting company.
Mhm.
And for that consulting company, I went from being in Michigan to being in Chicago. I did a little bit of travel with Motorola, but the consulting job, I traveled all over the U.S. and it was normal to just live out of a suitcase and live out of hotels. And wherever you go, you have to adapt to that new company or that new environment and that new situation to quickly blend into to those situations that you're in. Um, so I kind of all of those kind of career experiences and ability to transfer overseas. I did work for a year and a half in Puerto Rico, and I
Hmm.
thought that was a good uh, springboard to
Hmm.
Africa, but it wasn't. It wasn't as much as I thought once I actually got here. But there are some similarities. It's you know there's countries that aren't as well equipped as the United States, and I think we take a lot for granted. Maybe you couldn't tell, but the light went off while we were talking, and the generator hasn't switched back on yet.
Oh wow.
So
It's like a
that's
rolling brownout kind of situation, or is that how that works?
yeah. It's there's no timetable of when or why it occurs. It
Oh
just
wow.
happens.
Wow.
They take light, they bring light. It
Wow.
so in between doing that, you turn on the generator, you burn diesel. I mean, the on that side of things, it's something that we don't experience so much in the U.S.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
growing up, I could remember that, okay, tornadoes coming, get downstairs and hide
Exactly.
underneath a ping pong table or something. And
Right.
maybe, maybe you would lose electricity once a year for 3 hours or something.
Yep.
But it's a common experience. Nobody even blinks when the light goes off.
Wow.
In my office, where I currently work, I'm working for an engineering and procurement and construction company in
Hmm.
Port Harcourt,
Hmm.
Nigeria,
Hmm.
which is about a 45-minute flight from Lagos. By road, it would probably take 8 to 10 hours
Oh wow.
because of poor roads.
Hmm.
But it's in the southeast of Nigeria, and it's you would compare it to like a Houston, but Houston, I've been there. It's enormous. It's
Hmm.
a good city. It's well equipped. It's a good infrastructure.
Hmm.
They never put the money back into Port Harcourt like the U.S. did into Houston.
Hmm.
So you have a lot of oil companies working there and the service companies um, that build things for them in that area, but it's uh, it's not built up like Houston or an American city.
Gotcha.
Where I stay in Port Harcourt, we have a work compound and there's a residential area. So in that residential area, I have an apartment there, and the electricity is 24/7, and the water is good pressure. Everything is it's a residential area built for people that aren't used to living in normal African conditions.
Got it. And tell me a little bit about your current job situation. Was that the job that you landed when you first moved to Nigeria, and also how did you transition into that new role? How was that? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, let me go back a little bit. In 2009, I think it was 2009, I had finished. I'd done an MBA while I was working in Chicago, and I'd finished in December of 2008. And I had been pushing my consulting company to do more of a business development role. And I was in a new area that was trying to bring new business. And when the 2009 financial crisis hit, I wasn't on the revenue generating side again. I was
Sure.
on the revenue bringing side. So
Sure.
I was an easy one to cut at the time.
Sure.
So when that happened, I thought, well, I wonder what I'm going to do now. And my father-in-law had a friend in Nigeria that said he was looking for an expatriate to help him start a company.
Okay.
So I thought, well, that's good timing at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Abuja. So I thought, well, maybe it's the right thing to give it a shot now. When my wife and I got married, all of her family thought that I was going to take her away from Africa and she would never visit again. So I said, no, that's not going to be the case. And this
Nice.
opportunity came up to come back and work here. And I thought, well, let's give it a shot. So I came into Nigeria in October 2009 and was working in Abuja for a startup. There was no company structure. There was nothing. So it
Mm-hmm.
was starting it from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was similar to the company that I'm working for now, but it was small. It was just starting, and it was in the power sector. So it was doing engineering services for the power sector.
Sure.
My father-in-law had spent a good portion of his career working in the power sector in Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
and thought that leveraging that network would be a good transition into business there. I found out quickly that Nigerian companies can be very political,
Mm-hmm.
and there can be infighting and cause a lot of problems. Eventually, I moved to do the same thing, but in a family company,
Mm-hmm.
and then did a lot of different work. My wife and her mother, they're into traditional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a lot of natural products and natural weight loss and natural skincare.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had some time, I'd get into their business and try to find ways to improve that. I helped them to bring it up and put it on Amazon in the U.S. and
Nice.
try and branch out that way. Um, I stumbled into a lot of different jobs. I worked in the ports in Lagos for about a year
Mm-hmm.
with a company that they private. It used to be a government owned port
Mm-hmm.
where the ships would come in and offload general cargo. They would offload bags of rice. They would offload steel, anything coming in. They had about a mile long quayside in the port. So I joined another American guy that had been there or at least had been in Nigeria for 25 years or so, and worked closely with him for about a year, trying to improve the digital operations of that port.
Got it.
And
I'm sorry. This interrupt. I was more or less questions in regards to that transition, and not that I want to know specific numbers, but a lot of folks in our group, thinking about making a transition similar to you, and maybe they're not thinking about, starting a business and entrepreneurial, but maybe, doing something like what you did is maybe being a part of a startup, or taking on a job. So maybe, I guess, salary wise, I don't want to. We don't want to know numbers, But
Yeah.
comparing what you were making during your Motorola days or when you were in Chicago versus where you are now, was it a big drop? Was it about the same? Or maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, when I was when I was doing consulting, I was a senior manager on the cusp of becoming a partner,
Hmm.
and I would say that I was doing okay
Hmm. Hmm.
at the time. I did have to take I did have to take a little bit of a pay cut to come to Nigeria,
Sure.
but I think in the on the expense side, the uh, the expenses in Nigeria are not the same as
Sure.
the expenses in the U.S. Um, Really, it's been kind of all over the place. It's been there's been some better and some worse. I think that many companies they they pay well for expatriate or foreign trained and foreign experience.
Gotcha.
So, so I think that you have to find the right industry and the right role that they would appreciate that experience that you bring. But I think that when you bring it, they will typically pay fairly good wages for it.
Got it. Yeah, and I know for guys like us, I remember coming out of Michigan State with a computer science degree in the late '90s. It was my first experience. Now I know what Kobe Bryant and LeBron James felt like with all this money being thrown. I mean, I had so many. I stopped interviewing after a while. I mean, I was like, I have like three offers, and I'm like, why do I keep on interviewing? Because it's not. I'm not like I can. They're gonna outbid each other. It's all about the same. But they were like all good
Yeah,
job offers, right? So
yeah,
so we're blessed to be in a to pick majors, computer science and computer engineering, where it was a demand in the late '90s, and there continues to be a demand. There'll probably always be a demand, I guess. But for I guess other, uh, I guess it's probably I guess your advice would probably to do research, right? As far as uh, for those who are not computer scientists and computer engineering background,
yeah.
what advice would you give those folks if they were thinking about making the move? They were kind of coming for a visit to to look for opportunities. What's some advice that you would give to say non-technology based folks? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say that yeah, you have to do some research. You have to see what are the areas that do well in Nigeria or other African countries,
Hmm.
and what are the sectors that seem to be growing. So in Nigeria, the telecommunications, the IT is coming up, but I would say that telecommunications was the first real IT that hit the continent. They went from no landline or very few landlines, maybe 200,000 landlines, to millions of cell phone subscribers within a few years in the early 2000s.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now everybody has a mobile device, they have a smartphone, they have data, they're on the internet, they're on social media. Um, I think that if you want to look for employment, it's a more challenging thing to do
Hmm.
than to seek out where there could be opportunities to start a business,
Definitely.
create jobs, and provide goods and services both locally and abroad. And I mean, yeah, I'm employed now, but I'm always looking for the opportunity to do something independent as well.
Got it.
And you know, the one thing that has kept me in Nigeria, I think, for all these years is that despite all of its challenges and issues that you can encounter,
Hmm.
there's still a lot of opportunity. If things can just go right enough to create the momentum, so much needs to be done.
Sure.
So much infrastructure needs to be built. So
Hmm.
much uh, quality education has to be provided.
Hmm.
And so many things need to be done that there are opportunities in every direction. And I mean, it's a challenge because you have a huge population, and the wages of most people is very small.
Mm-hmm.
The middle class is coming up, and it's a good population size, but really the majority of the wealth or the money is in a 0.5% or 0.1%. I think I read somewhere that 80% of um, the bank account funds are within like 50 people in
What?
Nigeria.
Wow, really?
80%.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people with a lot of the money,
Right, right.
but there
Wow.
still are a lot of different things. One of the things I'm looking at now is trying to find things that can be exported, that are produced in Nigeria but exported as a final product.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the economy was strong back in the early 80s, they were just exporting raw materials,
Mm-hmm.
uh, peanuts, cashews, different products.
Mm-hmm.
And when they finally found oil, they just shifted everything to that direction,
Mm-hmm.
just to milk the money from the oil.
Mm.
And they didn't really develop the other areas of industry and agriculture and all the things that the country could be doing.
Sure. Gotcha. Yeah, that's you know, interesting. And you and I probably should collaborate. There's some things that I'm doing in regards to export, but it's more along the lines of exporting talent, intellectual talent, and not really exporting, but a situation where I think you and I we talked about it. But tapping into the expertise for folks to stay home in Nigeria, but to work remote and potentially make American salaries. So maybe that's something you and I can talk about later. But yeah, so
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely in the forefront of my mind of tapping that expertise to their benefit, right? To benefit those folks who are the local experts. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so wow, that half hour went quick. Let me ask you one or two more questions, and we'll shut it down.
All right.
Uh, can you think of or name maybe one thing that you wish you knew before you made the transition that you know now? You think of one or two things that you wish you knew then that you know now.
Well, I'll give an example. I'll give one that maybe it doesn't have a huge impact, but is different than British English. And a lot of the words are the same, but when you hear them spoken in the context that you hear them, they don't make sense.
Hmm.
So I found that when I first came to Nigeria, that I would hear a lot of things that were being spoken in English, but the way that the words were being used didn't register in my own head how it was going. And
Sure.
eventually, I learned over time that okay, this is the Queen's English. I don't understand this one so well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very good. Very interesting. Very interesting. And one last question is for folks, like I said, thinking about making that transition to the continent, whether it be Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, uh, Ghana. What are some of the things, or what's maybe some of the best things they could do to prepare now, maybe for a transition over the next 2 to 3 years? What are some of the things they can do now?
Well, I think that one one thing that I didn't do that probably would have been helpful was to research where I was going and to learn a little bit about the place that I wanted to eventually, or that I was eventually going to end up. To be honest, the only thing I knew about Nigeria before I came was Akeem Olajuwon and Christian Okoye, a couple of
Right,
athletes from the '80s.
right,
And
right.
I probably should have known more than that.
Sure, sure.
And there was plenty that I learned over time.
I'm sure
I've been to
your wife
Ghana.
schooled you on a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. Her family, everybody.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, different than a lot of folks who are in our group who would potentially be going solo. So you have that kind of support system, right? Your wife, your in-laws,
Yeah,
your father-in-law, they can guide you, So
yeah. It was a big help. It was a big help to have that local structure in place.
yes.
because my transition was, I would say, was not like a normal person going to a foreign country,
Got it.
because everywhere that I was taken, I was considered that I was already local, even if I didn't feel like I was fitting in. My father-in-law would take me around to all of his friends in different places and
Nice.
things like that. So it was very helpful. I've been to Ghana a few times on business trips, and what I kind of compare Ghana to is kind of like the like Puerto Vallarta of Mexico. It's kind of a quiet, laid back,
Mm,
tropical,
nice.
peaceful place with not very many people. It's a complete opposite of Nigeria.
Wow. Okay.
Nigeria is the the population size, the action is extreme compared
Yes.
to Ghana.
Yeah, I've heard the 200 million plus and growing. I heard the population will exceed the population of the United States in the next 25 years or something like that. I've read for those projections. So definitely heard it's a
Yeah,
populous place. So and I'll probably once COVID lifts, we will be the group will be visiting. So bro, so get prepared
no
for
problem.
from a visit from your man here. You know, I'm gonna check you out, and of course your sister-in-law who Marita, who did an interview for us. We're checking her and her husband out as well. So definitely we want to definitely see everything that Nigeria has to offer. So we will definitely be hitting you up well before we arrive. So we appreciate you,
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. I'm
my
I'm
my
here to welcome everyone.
my man. Well, listen, man, Trevor. Listen, man, it's been a pleasure, bro. We're out of time, man. We could be going for hours, man, because this is more stuff that I want to know. Maybe we'll do a follow up. But I want
That's
to
good.
say, on behalf of all the people in Africa 2063 who want to be where you are, we thank you for your insights, man, and definitely we want to keep the lines of communications open. So thank you for taking the time out and doing this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it,
All right,
and I'm happy to do anything I can to help.
my man. All right.
All right. Thanks.
Yep. Bye bye.